As we grow older, our thoughts tend to drift to our younger years. These memories can sometimes be vague and distorted. But through the magic of Google Earth and 3D models, you can be there once again.
To a new day of broadcasting with Armed Forces Television, Iraklion Air Station, Crete, serving the men and women of the United States European Command. AFTV Iraklion is operated by personnel assigned to Detachment 4 of the Air Force European Broadcasting Squadron.
After the Armed Forces Radio Television Service building, the base chapel is the first building as you enter Iraklion Air Station. This unassuming little structure sheltered many an airman awaiting the Blue Goose to haul them to Iraklion for a night of ouzo and retsina. Across from the bus shelter was the small but adequate base library, which provided a pleasant escape from loneliness. The base gym provided an escape for sports fans. Next to the gym was the cafeteria and the base exchange. The CAF offered a pleasant alternative to the blandness of the chow hall. Right next door was the BX, where you could purchase LPs, cameras, and civilian clothing. A stroll in front of the squadron headquarters of the 6931st Security Group took you by the bulletin board, where you could check for the latest promotion orders. Now, back to the barracks to prepare for chow and don your fatigues for a swing shift at the Pound. This familiar walk from the barracks area to the chow hall was taken by hundreds of airmen several times a day. You never tired of that serene view of Dragon Island, sitting on the calm waters of the Mediterranean. The chow hall was the busiest and most frequented spot on base. Upon entering those double doors, there was something almost comforting about the rattling of dishes and the shouting of the Greek cooks. The Chow Hall girls were a pleasant diversion from the nearly all-male base of 1965. Upon exiting the Chow Hall, it was common to see airmen scurrying indoors as the first notes of retreat sounded. On the way to work at the Pound, you pass the usually quiet home of the base fire department, which this day is carrying out a drill. As you walk the length of the operations building on the way to the guard shack entrance, you begin to think about your job that you are forbidden to discuss outside the compound. At the guard shack, you retrieve your top secret clearance badge from the friendly air policeman who himself is not cleared to enter the building. The long walk around the end of the building leads you to the entrance by the snack bar, where you will later get a ham and cheese to tide you over until midnight chow. At the door of operations, a code was required to enter. As the door swung open, you were greeted by the cacophony of hundreds of electronic signals as the silent warriors of the 6931st pursued their mission. Outside the compound, the field of towering antennas hinted at what was going on inside. At the rear alcove of the building sat the burn room, where evidence of classified information was destroyed after each shift. Sooner or later, everyone caught burn detail, and it was required to get rather filthy crawling inside and cleaning the incinerator. Security was the mantra, and the classified activities inside this building were to be banished from your mind until you re-entered the next shift. Viewing the vista from this stair landing, it is easy to believe that this may have been the best assignment in the Air Force. As we head down to the base post office to check today's mail, we decide to cut through the service club for a quick game of pool. Ducking out the back, we resume our trek to the mailroom, down a clearly well-worn path. Entering the mailroom, you hope to see in your box that letter from home that lifts your spirit and takes you back home for a moment. Often, a visit to the base theater provided a temporary escape. Until the film ended and you were thrust back into reality. Another popular place of refuge was the Airmen's Club. As you stroll down toward the club in the late afternoon, you pass base headquarters. Further down the road, you glance over at the BOQ, where most enlisted guys never set foot. At the top of a gradual slope down to the beach was the Airmen's Club, where you could get a good steak, a beer, and a peaceful view of the Sea of Crete at dusk. As you enjoyed your beer in the patio, you watched the sun set behind the mountains to the west as the ferry boat and Olympic Airlines made their way toward Iraklion. All this with the echoes of bleating sheep in the mountains nearby. You might make your way into the club to be entertained by a group of airmen simply known as the Band, whose members included Tom Spears, Tommy Knight, and Adrian Crownauer. The crystal clear waters and blue skies of the Cretan summers beckoned all airmen to the base beach to swim, snorkel, sail, or just tan. About 8 miles off the beach lies the small island of Dia, commonly referred to as Dragon Island due to the shape of its silhouette. Dia was, and probably still is, basically uninhabited, except for a herd of protected Crete goats and island caretakers. There are only a handful of structures on the island. Most airmen only viewed the island from afar, although some have been known to do some diving along its coast. Upon returning to Crete, we fly inland over our small base and see on the peak of the mountain in the background the familiar mouse ears. These giant tropospheric antennas transmitted and received electronic data between the base and other bases in Europe. They were an ever-present fixture and were visible from any spot on base. In June of 1994, Iraklion Air Station closed its gates after 40 years of service and turned the facility over to the Greek government. In the years following its closure, the formerly neat and well-cared-for Air Force Base became overgrown, neglected, and vandalized. Happily, there are now signs of rebuilding and restoration. The newly elected mayor promises a hopeful future for the old base. We, the veterans of Iraklion Air Station, Crete, will never forget it.